Okay, we're back for episode two. I feel like we're not gonna have as much to talk about. I feel like
I
we
don't think
just
it'll
kind
be
of,
an hour and a half long podcast like
I feel
last
like
time.
we
But
just
you know what? That's
rambled
okay.
about. We just caught up on stuff last time. But all right, Zach, you take the wheel for a little bit. What's going on right now in the world of hockey?
Hockey. Well, what's going on with the nation? Let's talk about that. The greatest country in the world, the United States of America.
Okay.
Stop. We'll boo you. Don't do that. We'll boo you.
Wasn't there a fight yesterday about the national anthem?
There's been there's been a fight going on in general, just with the anthems and stuff going on with politics. Which I can tell you one thing about me on this: I'm not going to talk politics.
Yeah.
If I do, it's very rarely. But there's a lot going on between us and our neighbors to the north politically right now. And so that leads to one another booing the national anthem. Whether you agree with it or not is your decision. I personally would not boo somebody else's
I
anthem.
wouldn't either.
That's just the world we're living in right now. They did it for, which we'll get into, the Four Nations Championship tonight. They booed it for about 20 seconds because the game was in Boston, so the United States people were booing the Canadian anthem for about 20 seconds. Then after that, it kind
Yeah.
of stopped.
Okay.
There's some controversy to that, but yeah, I'm talking about the Four Nations, which is hockey, USA and Canada. Which, to give you background on it, normally for the NHL during this time period, it's either the Olympic Games, the Winter Olympics of hockey, which is a very big deal, or
Hmm.
this weekend, like the NBA, it's the All-Star weekend. And kind
Yeah.
of in a similar, problem that the NBA is having, where, All-Star game format, the way they're doing things, it's not exactly doing TV numbers, or it's not what it once was.
No, it's not nearly as big of an event as it
And we
has
can get
been.
into that. We can get into that too. But
Hmm.
they decided we're gonna take, because hockey comes from the United States, Canada. I think the other two teams were Finland and Switzerland were the two teams in this. It's Sweden. My bad. I'm sorry, Sweden. That's disrespectful. It was Sweden.
Switzerland.
Yeah, sorry, Switzerland. You ain't in this. But they had them do kind of like in the World Cup, where you do a round robin where everybody plays everybody, and then whoever has the most points based off wins after everybody plays in a championship game.
That's pretty cool.
It's not like the Olympics where there's a gold medal or anything, but you're playing for your country and you're playing for pride, and it has taken off to where these guys want to win for their country. These guys are from the jump. Canada and USA are playing right now for the championship. When they played last Saturday, within the first 15 seconds of the game, there were three fights between the teams. Which, that's personally one of the reasons I love hockey, is they drop the gloves. Uh, they're the only sport where you can like beat the crap out of somebody.
Outside of like the mixed martial arts of the world,
Well,
like
yes,
boxing and
but
MMA, yeah, I get what you mean.
compared to the big four, you include soccer too. They're the only ones where it's like, hey man, we're gonna drop the gloves and we're gonna do
What's the
this.
big four sports? Baseball, basketball, football. Is hockey the fourth?
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's the only one where you can just take the gloves off and hit somebody and not get charged with a felony or not get a fine. It's crazy. So it's taken off and it has been a huge success. I mean, mainly to do with the fact that it's USA and Canada in the championship. I mean, if it was Finland and Sweden, I don't think anybody would care. But the fact that it's USA and Canada in this, it's become almost like another version of the Olympics, and it's got non-hockey people talking about it. It's really blown up. It was The tickets were almost to the level of a Super Bowl ticket, to give you
So
context.
like, so
Now,
what's like, what organization is putting it on?
the
Like, because
NHL
obviously,
basically took their all stars that are from these countries. So, like,
okay,
for the ones that listen to this, and maybe the most casual of hockey casuals, the
which is me.
starting
I'm not
three.
even casual.
Well, you won't know these players though, but I'm like, the starting three for Canada is Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, and Nathan McKinnon, who are arguably three of the best players in the league right now.
Yeah.
Um, USA's got Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel, but even for me, like, that's really all I know. The Kachuk brothers too, which is a good story. Um, the context for this too, for people listening, we're recording this because I NHL overtime can go on forever. This game is about to start overtime, so I may randomly scream in the middle of this, good or bad, because the
Nah, yeah, we got live reactions
USA
going
may
on.
lose. But overtime is about to kick off, and overtime, especially in postseason hockey, but especially when it's for a championship, can be one of the most exciting yet stressful things you can ever watch on television.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
keep that
because
in mind while I ramble on. But it's moral of the story, it has been a huge success for the NHL, considering it's been a substitute for their All-Star game. And it's just like when the Redeem team or the Avenger team with the Olympics, in the Summer Olympics with basketball, like it just rallies the country together watching, the United States compete.
yeah. So you hit on the All Star weekend a little bit. Let's talk about that. The NBA All Star weekend was this past weekend. You had the typical celebrity and rising stars games on Friday. You had all the skills challenge, 3-point dunk on Saturday. And then the All Star game took on a brand new format with four separate teams of 8 players each. And then you had a championship game. So, what were your thoughts on that? I personally did not like it, but what do you think?
How much of it did you watch first off? Because
I
I'll let you
watched
answer and I'll give you my answer.
I watched a good bit of it. I watched all of Saturday. I watched some of Sunday, and like I get what they were trying to do with Sunday. They're trying to make it more competitive as
Mhm.
opposed to just going out there and um just kind of messing around. But I don't know if I like the format of 4 teams. Like I miss the typical West versus East. Like there's something nostalgic about that for me.
Right.
But um I think you could somehow make it to where you can do a two different teams and somehow put some kind of spin on it, like each team plays for a charity or something like that. Something that gives them a little bit more motivation to play harder, like or maybe a contract bonus or just something like that. But I don't know. The 4 teams, it was okay. It was just, and I didn't like the fact that the Rising Stars got a team on Saturday. Like to me,
Yeah.
that's reserved for whoever the best of the best is currently in the NBA. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. But I mean, I didn't. I mean, I still watched it just because I'm an NBA fan. But like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little different. I usually tune into it. Saturday I tuned in to the last part of the dunk contest is all that I really got just to see because there was something growing up and really I think to the point where the All-Star game kind of changed after the one in Toronto where it was the Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine dunk
Yeah,
contest,
Kobe's last All Star
Kobe's
game.
last
Yeah,
All-Star game. After that is when you start to see the change and the shift. Um, I didn't watch it. I guess I haven't really watched Saturday the last couple years, but I heard about the Max guy from the Magic, and I'm like, okay, let me see what this is about. Um, and it was fine. It didn't, and maybe it's nostalgia from a kid, but it didn't hit the same that it did, a few years ago. And then the All Star game in general, I didn't really watch any of because I was watching the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary, which I think that had something to do maybe with TV ratings too, because that was
viewership.
another
Yeah, maybe so.
big event. Um, but it's just gotten to the point where players don't care. At least it seems to me like they don't care. Like it seemed like obviously in the 90s they when it was East West they cared. Jordan made sure they cared. Even up to, with Kobe they made sure they cared. It feels like this generation just you don't want to risk getting hurt.
They
You
take it
don't risk
as a week to like rest from actual basketball,
well, they
which
even
like
take two of getting they get called out for even trying hard in it, like being the one person that tries hard in it. Does that make you look bad? Um,
yeah,
I mean, they've done the charity thing before when they've drafted teams. I liked the idea of doing the play to for like the pickup style. I think is great, but I definitely think the way they did it was kind of like I personally think the draft they did was staged. Um, the Chuck
yeah.
Shack can't like I because I remember them saying I watched the draft part of it, and they were saying from the jump how this was going to be the strategy for their team. Like Kenny said from the jump, "Oh, I'm drafting the young guys. Like this is what I'm going to do," and the way that draft kind of fell and where certain people went, it's like really like
Like too
it's literally just
coincidental. Yeah.
chalk to where it's the old heads versus the international guys versus the young guys. Like that's literally there's nothing it's all like it all fits the format perfectly to where it seemed kind of staged to where you have that storyline aspect of it, which is fine.
Yeah, I
Don't make it don't be like, oh, it's a draft, like, oh, we, randomly pick these.
well that's if you're gonna draft, I kind of like the idea of team captains, like how they've done it before, like
Yeah.
Team LeBron, Team KD. Because to me, I don't think those drafts are staged. I think those are just
No, those
simply
aren't. I just felt like this
two.
one this year was.
No, yeah, I think you're right. I've always had an idea of for the dunk contest. So hear me out on this. I think this would bring a little bit of excitement back to the dunk contest. So I think you keep your typical four players. You keep four.
Hmm.
Get two of them from the NBA, and then you get two professional dunkers, not NBA players, but someone that on social media that is a pro dunker. That's all they train. Have
Hmm.
two of those guys come in and let them steal the absolute show. And because to me, that's people that actually have something to go and play for, something to really go and show out for. I think that's like why Mac McClung has really taken off because like he's getting more money from winning these dunk contests just through sponsorships that he's getting because of how, I mean, that's what he's known for. Like you bring in other guys in the NBA, like they're not going to care necessarily about winning a dunk contest. But I think if you got two like pro social media dunkers, they could go make a name for themselves and they'll actually care about winning and they'll pull out way better dunks than some of these NBA guys can.
I agree with that. I still think of when you think of the best dunk contest, with I guess with the exception of the Aaron Gordon one, like it is star power. Like it goes back to star power,
Exactly.
in my opinion. Like I still think of say what you want about Dwight Howard now, but at the time he was competing in the contest, he was one of the top 15 players on the planet.
Yeah. Same with
Blake
Blake Griffin.
Griffin was
Yeah.
the first overall pick, and he was turning into a star with the Clippers. You think about Vince Carter, you think about Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins was the one that really set it off.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's guys that you've barely heard of.
Yeah.
So from that aspect, I'm like, you need to do what you can. If you're going to keep going with it, which that's another question in itself, are you going to keep going with it? I personally feel like you got to get the stars. Like the fact that they were never, and it's too late for LeBron, it's way too late, but the fact that they were never even going to get him to try it with the stuff that he could pull off,
Mm-hmm.
because it was always the dunk contest would happen. And then after it happened, LeBron, or even this year with Giannis, they're going to be like, oh, I'll do it next year. And then next year rolls around, and shockingly, it's guys that are on the bench for teams that you've never heard of, or guys that aren't even in the league.
Do you think there should be like a criteria for you being allowed to compete in All Star Weekend? Like you average this many points throughout the season? Like you
To
know
an
what I mean?
extent, because even I saw clips on Twitter today of like the skills competition, and it was Dwayne Wade competing in it and Kobe Bryant competing in it. I know it's but who was it for the Wizards? Like it was or not Wizards. Wizards ain't nowhere near the All Star game. Uh,
I actually I like how they did the skills challenge. I think that's the one thing they got right. They got so they did three teams. It was Team Cavs, Team Warriors, Team Spurs, and then they did Team Rookie. And those were some big household names. Like the Spurs had CP3 and Wemby. Cavs, you had Mitchell and Mobley. And then
yeah.
the Warriors, you got Green and Moses Moody. And then the rookies, you had Ricochet and Sard. That's the one thing I think that they got right because those are some big household names. The
No,
only
I
problem
just
is
still
like,
want if why can't it and be the star power? Like, hey, if you're having like, and maybe it's different now that they do the teams, but like, let's just do the single player, have it be Steph Curry versus Donovan Mitchell versus Wembanyama. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
get the A list of the A list stars. No disrespect to Draymond Green or Moses Moody, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I get that. And
That's the thing
like,
is
but
having the
to
or
like,
having LeBron drop out like last minute. You know, like things
yeah,
like that, where it's like
to me, it's sorry, you go ahead.
oh no, it's
What were
just
you
where
going to
like
say?
he knew he wasn't gonna play, and he waited until an hour before tip to be like, "Oh, I'm not playing." Like,
No, that was a selfish thing to do. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. It's leading to a point where All Star games in general are just becoming not as important. I mean, the Pro Bowl is the first one to die. It's flag football, and I'm a football nut more than anybody, and I am not touching watching that game because it's not even a game.
Is
It's
there
flag football.
is there some kind of way you think that the All-Star weekend can be incorporated to something that's like you get some kind of reward like for what you do? Not necessarily like money wise, but like I don't know, let's say like you get 8 people that average like shoot a certain percent from three, like, and then your reward is like, I don't know, let's say you get 5 extra MVP votes or just something like that. You know what I mean? Like for the
Yeah.
end of the year. And that gives
I
someone
mean,
like Steph an incentive to go and actually try to put a show on. You know what I
the
mean?
end all be all, it would have to, I would say it's money, or it would have to be something with playoff positioning or something, but I don't know how that would work. There's so many. I mean, it's gonna stay happening. It's not gonna not happen just because there's way too much corporate that goes on between the NBA and its partners at that event. Like it's
No, yeah.
way too
And
much
I mean,
money
some
involved.
aspects of it are still enjoyable. It's just like,
But
I don't know.
even from what I heard from the TV aspect of it with that All-Star game is there wasn't a ton of basketball played. It was, studio time with Ernie and Chuck and Kenny and Shaq, and they only had about 30 minutes of real, well, not 30, maybe like 40 minutes of real basketball during the 3.5 hour broadcast. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
on Sunday, yeah, each game was played to 40 points, and they did not. I mean, think about it. There's no defense being
Which
played.
you're
I mean, they can
testing it
get to
out.
40
I
points so
get that.
easily.
Yeah, I get that you're testing it out, but it's still like that's
But that's
people.
something they should have known. Like NBA players playing to 40 points when you know there's not going to be defense played. Like
Yeah.
that
Hey,
should be that should have been
shout out that
obvious.
one guy taking Mr. Beast money though. I saw that on Twitter.
Gosh, that was
And I,
awesome.
and I think that's go
Have
ahead.
you watched any of these Mr. Beast games? The show.
Oh, I'm not. I'm clueless. I'm a 25
It
year old.
is. It's pretty fascinating. Our whole family's watching it right now, and it's pretty cool. It's actually a fun concept. It's
My
not
my
something I
last
thought I was going to get hooked on.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. My last thought on the All-Star game is also just like the way our society is now, where people aren't gonna people are start their attention spans are so small, so like they're not even gonna like watch a full game anymore to begin with. They just look for the highlights on Twitter, highlights on Instagram or TikTok, and that's the recap for
That's fair.
that. Going back to, I'm not going to go into detail a ton about what Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, but that's the way it is with Saturday Night Live now. People don't stay up to watch the live show anymore. They check social media to see what the funniest bit was, and that blows up, and they make money off of YouTube views and stuff like that. That's just the way our society is now with attention span. So I think that plays a factor too, where instead of watching the whole game, you're just going to look for the highlights and see what happens. And Canada won. That sucks. Hockey's the dumbest sport in the history of the world.
Actually,
Never liked it. Yeah, Connor McDavid just scored a goal. This is the dumbest
oh
idea
my
ever. Bring back the All-Star game.
god,
Cancel
what
everything I
happened?
just said in the monologue for the last 15 minutes. Stupid.
Just see it. Canada 3, USA 2. I'm moving to Canada.
I may have had money on the USA, by the way, so that also may be one reason. But
I knew it.
God,
What
they'll
if
have one job.
what if the NBA actually did adopt something like what the NHL has done?
I mean, if you just straight up did the international guys versus the USA guys, I mean, you could. It seems to be that has been when people really start as a country getting back into professional basketball is when the Olympics happens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Option for sure. I just don't know like how you reward that or how you do that in the NBA just in general. I mean, you obviously you can with,
Yeah, but it's not like hockey, like where you could split it up into countries. Like, I mean, if it's USA versus anybody outside of like it would have to be like you said, USA versus like the world, like the rest of like how the Rising Stars game used to be,
yeah,
where it was USA versus world. Like it would have to be that to be competitive, just because America's talent in basketball is way too stacked.
right. I mean that's the only there's so many ideas, but I don't know if there's truly one answer on how to fix it.
No, but something does need to change though.
Yeah.
But and I think it is a little bit of a mix of what both of us have been saying. Like I think we need to get stars back interested in it, but like you're not going to get them interested if they don't have anything to compete for, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes
So,
perfect.
I mean, I think somehow find a way to give them, I mean, I want to say money, but like some of these big stars, like they don't need money. I think something like some kind of playoff position or some kind of like extra voting in MVP or just something like that, I think would be for them more to play for, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes total sense. Like I said, I don't know what that answer is, but they need to figure something out, or else it's gonna be like the NFL where it's dead, or you're gonna have to figure it out and be like the NHL and come up with something new that was a success until 5 minutes ago because USA messed it up.
Yeah, 'cause now hockey's just the worst sport in the world.
Back to basketball.
Well, speaking of the NBA, did you see about Wembenyama's his blood clot?
Yeah, I heard about it. It sucks, obviously, just
Yeah.
because obviously for the player in general, anything with a condition like that is awful. And you
Hmm.
start thinking about Chris Bosh, and it's good that they caught it now to where, it hopefully doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, reportedly it's not it's in a specific spot and it's not traveled yet, which is obviously
Which is
really
good.
good
Just
news.
it just sucks for him that he has to shut it down for basically 6 months. But
Hmm.
again, you'd rather have it now than
No, that it travels to his lungs.
later
I
in your
mean, you're
career,
looking at
even
his
last year,
career.
like not being able to compete in the Olympics or anything. Like
Hmm.
you never want anybody to get it, but timing wise, I mean, the Spurs are in 12th place. And I guess
Yeah.
from their aspect, you did put chips in with De'Aaron Fox and whatnot, but I mean, they really were already kind of looking ahead to building for next year.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously prayers up to Wemby. Hope he's okay. And I think
For sure.
it sounds like he's all right for the most part. And I'm glad it's just in one spot because obviously, I mean, like I said, blood clot starts traveling to your lungs. Like you're looking at your career being done. I mean, that's where it gets scary. I don't know if they announced where in his body it is because
It's his
like
shoulder,
it's in his shoulder. Okay.
right shoulder.
Okay. Ugh.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I mean, obviously, like you don't want it in a specific spot, but if you were to choose, I mean, I would think like lower body, like your foot or your leg would be ideal, something that's just far away from your lungs and your heart.
Right.
But I'm not a doctor. I'm just a guy. So
I'm far from it, but like I said, it's glad that it's getting taken care of, and it sucks that we won't see him for at least 6 months. So I mean, you even got to put the start of next season. You know, he may take a while to get back from that, just because you can do a little bit of working out and whatnot, but you can't do any physical activity at all just because of the wrist.
yeah. Okay. So speaking of the NBA, I've got a little fun question for you.
Okay, I got a fun answer.
And it doesn't have to be in any particular order. Who are your top five best players in the NBA right now?
Right now,
Right now.
right now, it's
We
not
can
Joel.
do all time too if we want.
We might have the time for it. Allen Iverson's number one for me all time.
Wow. Are you
I joke.
serious? Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I'm serious. Top five right
Is Michael
now.
Jordan not on your list?
He's on my list, but top five right now. See, right now I just know who's not on my list, and it's Joel Embiid because I watched him tonight and he sucked.
He sucks.
Um,
He's dealing with injury. I mean, I hate it for him, but yeah.
yeah, the 76ers were bad tonight. Jokers. This is no particular order because I'm just a Joker
No.
is definitely top five.
Joker's up there. Joker's my number one, by the way.
There you go. See, Joker. I don't know because I would say Luca, but LA Luca hadn't been too hot right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
LA Luca, Shay's up there.
Shea, I was about to say, Shea's in there for me too.
Shay is in there. I will. He's got to be somewhere in the top five. Give me Tatum. Tatum's in there.
Okay.
Respect the ring. Respect the
Yeah.
ring.
Fair, fair.
It feels too cliche to go LeBron, but he has been playing at like a really good level right now recently.
Yeah.
And I think that's also seniority pick to where it's like, yeah, you know what? LeBron's in there.
Okay.
Um, I have to do a fifth guy.
Yeah. Who you got?
Um, not Steph, not Steph.
Mm-hmm.
I love KD, but not KD. Give me Giannis.
Giannis. Okay. Yeah.
I love
That's
Giannis.
fair. That's fair.
Anthony Edwards honorable mention.
I like that. That's a solid.
Thank you. That you know
That's a
what?
solid five.
That's my starting five. We'll roll with it. Who's
Starting
yours?
five. So Joker and Shea are the easy ones for me to put on there. I think they're one and two pretty easily right now. I'm gonna go Giannis, in there as well. Um, I'm gonna say Anthony Davis.
Interesting.
Um, I think Anthony Davis, fully healthy, is the best post player outside of Jokic in the NBA.
Mm.
And the way he can just, I think the way he stretches the floor, can knock shots down, but also be a threat in the post, I think is something that any team would love to have. Like, I hate that he's out for the next few weeks, but
Yeah, timing
and
that
that
was
and
great.
that's the tricky thing is like how much do you value the injury aspect of how good they are right now? Um, which is another reason I've got another guy. You know what? I'm gonna say number 5, and people will call me crazy for this.
Bobby Portis.
I'm going with LaMelo Ball.
Ooh, you're
I
one of the
mean,
trendy kids right now, Sam. You're
he's
one of the
he's
trendy
averaging
kids.
he's
Swerving that
averaging
corner.
he's
Whoa.
averaging 27, 7, and 5. I mean, that's pretty dang good.
Yeah,
That's a solid stat line.
he's just stuck on the island of misfit toys that is the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that
Good
doesn't
win the
help.
other night though. I saw him beat the Lakers. Good win.
It was a great win. Gosh, yeah, that was a solid win. But I'm gonna put some respect on Lamelo's name because he didn't make the All Star, which was shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm gonna say Lamelo Ball. I think the Hornets got something cooking up for the next couple of years. Honestly,
I like that. I like
they keep
that.
their young core together with him, Brandon Miller,
If they get
Bridges.
that first pick, because we can say their core right now, the core their core got 14 wins. They're not Wizards bad, but
No, but like it's just the fact that they're all such young, promising. Like there's just something different about them, in my opinion. They're all young, like have their future ahead of them. It's not like the Wizards where they've got, I mean, freaking Chris Middleton on their roster. Just you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get that.
and
I
plus
don't know.
they're stacked on draft picks for the next few years because of some trades that they've made the past
That's
couple of
true. I
years.
don't know. I feel like Charlotte and Washington to me personally are the same. I feel like them and the Jazz are like all in the same little tier of like they're just stuck in irrelevancy right now.
That's fair. Like I see the Hornets right now as how I saw the Pistons like 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Hey, shout out
Just
the Pistons.
And yeah, then now the Pistons are playing some really good ball. We went to see the Pistons.
That's right. Oh, I didn't realize the Pelicans were this bad either. Looking at the standings, what
Now
happened?
the Pelicans, I don't know what to think about them.
What
Good grief.
happened, man?
I don't know because like you look at their roster and you would think like okay, they're probably somewhere in the play-in mix.
Yeah,
Um, I mean Zion's
it
injury
all
didn't help.
it all goes back to Zion, man.
It does.
They're
Like
burning $36 million.
you got Zion, Dejounte Murray going out for the year, but that I mean CJ McCollum, I don't. He has been average, I think, since
Yeah,
coming
I
to New
think
Orleans.
he's kind of past what he once
He's
was,
past what he
and they're paying him
was.
33. So
Um, Trey Murphy, golly, that kid might be the best player on their roster right now. He has had
Murphy's
an
good. Alvarado's good. I love Herb. Obviously, Herb is
Herb's
solid,
great.
but he's
Um,
mainly just a defensive guy.
um, even guys like Brandon Boston. I mean, he's had an all right year. It's just I don't know
Yeah,
something ain't right there.
whatever it is, it hasn't worked, which sucks.
No,
They were in the playoffs, not too long ago, the last couple of years, and have been, seemed like they've been getting close.
yeah.
And I guess it just fell off.
All right, let's go top 5 all time. I'm interested in who you think is who you
Well,
got here.
Mike's got to be there.
Mike's number 1 for you. Okay,
Yeah, Mike's number one. Come on.
let's go this in order. In order, this
Uh
make it interesting because I feel like top 5 would be too easy. Maybe. I don't know.
yeah.
For me, there's 4 there that are so easy, but
Wait, LeBron's two.
okay.
Um, this is harder than I thought it would be. This is way harder than I thought it would be. See, because I know after that one, that's to me is the top two. After that, I'm trying to figure it out. Because I know
Agreed.
for me, I feel like Kareem's in there. Maybe he's at five.
Okay.
Um, he's got to respect it. There's so many to choose from. Like Kobe,
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about it, but am I really thinking about it? Um,
If not Kobe, though, who?
well, you look at the Lakers in itself, Magic Johnson, I don't know. Larry Bird.
We could go top 10 if you wanted.
Yeah, I could do well, no, it's top 10. I mean, you got Shaq, you got Bird, Chamberlain, Bill Russell,
Mm-hmm.
Kareem.
You want to go top 10?
Yeah, we can do top 10.
All right. I'm gonna
I just
work
don't know.
on
I don't know if I can rank them though. That's my one thing.
I'm gonna
Because
get my
to
notes
me, it's
out.
LeBron, Mike. Then you got just the Lakers in itself with Kareem, Magic, and Kobe. Uh, Larry's in there. Bill Russell's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I would go. I'm not gonna trust anything about Wilt Chamberlain. No disrespect, but I got to see points about that. I got to see real about that 100-point game. I'd go Oscar Robertson.
Okay.
You got to imagine back in those days, averaging a triple double, like that's insane.
Yeah, no, that is.
Um, Give me Tim Duncan.
That's fair. I like that list. That's
Yeah,
solid.
that's my top 10.
That's your 10.
No particular order except for the top two. And who's
Okay. Uh I'm gonna go MJ one.
shocker?
I'm gonna go Braun two as well.
Bronny?
Although,
Hey, Bronny James, number two?
um, yeah, I'm gonna go Bronny James at one.
Okay. Just
Thon
make sure.
Maker at two.
Yeah, I thought about it. I
Easton
thought about
Stick
it.
at three.
Yeah.
Um,
Danny Green.
Although, and this is something I might not would have said in the past couple of years, I think LeBron is closer to MJ than he is to like being number three, if that makes any sense. I think
No,
Braun is
that makes total sense.
close. I think Braun is close. Like
Oh yeah.
if he won another ring,
Yeah. Which could happen.
it very much could happen. If he won another ring, it would be hard for me to make an argument for MJ, if I'm being honest. Like
It's all
I
still in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, like I get MJ played in a tougher like environment, but like talent wise, I think LeBron's played harder pure talent throughout his career.
It's only gotten better.
Um, and
You
you
can
can
say what
look
you
at
want.
the
You can say what you want about defense and stuff back in the day and what was a foul and what wasn't a foul, but I mean,
MJ never played a Golden State.
fact.
Um, but I'll give MJ his flowers for now. He's one, Bron's two. I think Kobe Bryant's three, to be honest.
Dude,
Um,
I hate it. I just
Kareem's my four. Um, I think Shaq's my five, to be honest.
yeah. I would imagine what he like was in shape his whole career too. How
Exactly,
dominant.
but like you
How
could put
dominant
Shaq
he
in
is.
any era and he dominates the league.
Yeah.
Um, and his four championships just is that's a nice resume. Um,
It lets you know he's got 4 rings.
hey Chuck, want to know what I got that you don't?
Got 4 rings.
Got four rings. Um, I've got three names and I don't know how to order them. I've got Magic, I've got Bird, and I've got Steph Curry.
Yeah, that's on me for getting my boy Steph. My bad.
I
Steph.
mean, I'm gonna say Steph number six, dude. I which is weird, but like I mean, best 3-point shooter of all time, revolutionized the game of basketball. Like
Yeah.
went toe to toe with LeBron for years. I mean, four rings. I mean, that's
Yeah, I kind of dropped the ball not putting Steph in there.
Steph is the only thing that Steph lacks is defense. If Steph was a better defensive player, I think we're looking at a top three player of all time, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think we're already now granted he's in the back nine of his career, but the 3-point leader already, like
yeah,
insane.
yeah. Who's that leave me? Magic Bird for 7 and 8. I'm gonna say Magic is slightly better than Bird, so I'm gonna give
You're not
Magic.
picking John Stockton?
I'm not picking John Stockton.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give Magic 7, Bird 8, 9, and 10. I like your pick of
Karl Malone.
Oscar. Um, gosh,
Who else is on that Utah Jazz team? So,
I'll say
Kenny J. Smith.
Bill Russell just out of respect for the 11 rings.
Yeah.
Um,
Kevin McHale.
Moses Malone.
Hey,
Darren Williams.
there you go. Two
Number
bird.
10. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Kevin Durant.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
Just because I think he's one of the best pure scorers of all time.
Still going strong.
Yes, and he's still having a good career. Like I'm excited. Like I'm excited to see what this generation like stacks up in terms of best of all time, like the Lucas, the Tatums of the world.
Yeah.
Um, and I know a lot of it will depend on rings compared to some of these other guys,
Well,
but
I'm just interested to see what the next dynasty is going to be because for the last few years it's been different, different teams winning it. Will it be the Celtics be that next dynasty? I don't know. Or will it be, will Luca finally start one out in LA? Could Shea do something in Oklahoma City? It's really who's going to be that next dynasty will kind of determine who's the next, elite.
um, yeah, I think the two teams that come to mind when it comes to dynasty could be the Celtics, but man, the Thunder are building a really good team too.
Yeah, I think with the Thunder, though, is they got to prove it. Celtics have already at least proven to.
Right, but I think the Celtics are a little bit older, more experienced. I think the Thunder, I mean, this is their first breakout year.
Yeah.
Um, got guys like Shea, Chet, Jay Williams, and just, I mean, they just scream like future dynasty just because of how young and good they are. I don't want to say the Cavs are a dynasty, but to me, they have several championships ahead of them because of how young and good they are too. The only problem is can they beat Boston? But
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still in the factor of I got to see him win one first. Just going
that's
back,
fair.
speaking of the Thunder, that Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, they were projected to be dynasty too, and they made it to the finals
Right.
once, and that was it.
I tell
But you
you,
talk about Luca and the Mavs being like, oh, they'll be back here, it'll be fine, and we're not even a year past that, and that's
he's
already
on a different team. Yeah.
yeah. So you never know.
I think the Nuggets are one solid piece away from being a dynasty.
Yeah, they're missing
Um,
something.
like just a good like two guard or someone like that. Um,
I'd
like I'm
agree.
trying to think of a good example, like of who, like just someone they could put at that
I
two
think they need
guard.
they need another forward.
Maybe another forward. I mean, you have Porter Jr., who's a good starter, and then obviously Murray, obviously Jokic. I don't know. Oh, who's someone they could pair? Like if they had traded for like a Jimmy Butler, you know what
Yeah,
I
I don't know
mean?
if they got the capital to trade for Jimmy.
No, probably
I get what
not.
you mean though.
Just that caliber of player.
Right.
Should have signed Ben Simmons.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's the one that's going to take you to the next level.
I don't know, man. What
More.
the Clippers might be cooking something.
Yeah, they'll be burning whatever they're cooking.
Where are they in the standings? That's an interesting
They're in the
thing.
mix.
Are they?
I think so. The
They're
Clippers.
six. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, see?
Dang. Clippers to the finals? Question mark.
No. They'll do what they
Why
always do,
not?
losing because they'll lose in the first round like they
Why
always
why
do.
why not us, man?
Because Kawhi will get hurt midway through a series, and that'll be that. Plus, they play the Grizzlies in the first round, and they're not beating the Grizzlies.
Who's your favorite to come out the West?
Oklahoma City.
I'm still taking Denver.
Man, you were just hyping up Oklahoma City as this next dynasty. They're great. They're built for it. All this. And now you're saying they ain't even making it out.
I'm saying they have the potential to have a dynasty more than a lot of other teams. I'm right now. I still think the Nuggets are better.
No, I'm gonna go with Thunder to make it. Thunder Celtics finals. Celtics beat them. That's my prediction. I'll lock that in now.
I'm going Denver,
Until things proven
Cleveland.
otherwise.
I'm gonna go Denver, Cleveland.
Don't
Uh,
do the homer pick. Don't do the homer pick, and you're gonna set yourself up picking them Cavs.
I don't know.
You know what you want to say. You know
I want to
exactly.
say the Cavs, but like Also, can they guard Jokic for 7 games? That's my thing is who's going to guard Jokic for a 7 game series? Like,
I got Jared Allen,
yeah,
Mobley could guard him.
Mobley's an defender. Actually, I take that back. Mobley's actually stepped his defensive game up a lot this year. Um,
Clamps on him.
yeah, I'd say Cleveland might beat Denver. I think they have more talent on their team. I think Denver's just more top heavy. Um,
I mean,
but
that's the
yeah,
problem with Denver right now is their bench and their role players.
who Denver?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think
yeah, they
there's
got they got Joker. They got Murray's been better. I mean, he dropped a 50 piece the other night, and then Westbrook's been playing pretty well. Other than that,
got Michael Porter Jr. Man.
oh yay,
He's on my fantasy team. Don't hate on him.
oh, my bad.
Half my fantasy team is like Denver players. I got Christian
Oh,
Brown
that explains it then.
and Jokic. Dog. Jokic is a dog in fantasy. It's absurd. All right, let's talk about Bama hoops
Man, we
for a
struggled.
little bit. What are we thinking?
It might be over.
You think it's over?
No, I don't think it's over.
What'd you
If
make?
I,
We'll start with the Auburn game.
man, the
Probably
Auburn
the
game.
biggest regular season game of the entire season.
Yeah.
What did you think? Did you watch the whole game?
I watched. I think I got home with about 10 minutes or so left in the first half. So I watched a good chunk of it.
Okay,
Yeah. Honest assessment of it was I was more impressed with Auburn than I was disappointed with us.
that's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
I because you got to think of the fact of we only had 5 turnovers the entire game, which one of our biggest bugaboos this season with Alabama is turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Only had 5 turnovers, so that in itself was like offensively, at least possessing the ball, you played well.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are a lot of other things where you still scored 85 points, and that seems to be the thing where this team's going to be able to score whatever they want every night. It may not exactly be the prettiest in the world, but they're going to get their points. But uh, every time it felt like Bama was getting back into the game,
Auburn shut him down.
Auburn wasn't phased.
Mm-mm.
Auburn wasn't worried about nothing. They'd go in there, they'd hit a shot. I think Denver Jones in particular really impressed me with. He'd go in and
Mm-hmm.
three, and they'd get momentum, and Alabama could just never get fully back into the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only real concern I have with Bama in that game is yes, they didn't turn the ball over, but they only made 5 threes.
I was about to say that's the big thing for me is the difference in that game is Auburn shot 40% from three, Alabama shot 19. That's You can't let that gap be that big. And the biggest thing for me is I don't know. I mean, I guess you didn't watch the first 10 minutes, but the first 10 minutes, Auburn jumped out to a lead early, like a 16-4
And
lead or something like that.
that seems to be a problem with this team is how they
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. And you cannot, I mean, I kept telling everybody when the talent levels are that close between Bama and Auburn, and I mean, I think Auburn is a better team, but I mean, the talent levels are very comparable,
I think it's close, but you can't
it's
like
very close. And when two teams are as talented as that and they're that comparable, you cannot allow them to jump to that big of a lead early because it's too hard of a deficit to make up. If you're playing, for example, I don't know, like if you're playing a Vanderbilt or an LSU or an Oklahoma, just someone that's more of a mid-tier SEC, you can make that ground up
that
somewhat
is so
easily.
disrespectful to Vanderbilt.
Not, I love Vanderbilt, but they're not Auburn, man. They're not Auburn.
No, I know, but LSU's like 3-10. Vanderbilt's at least gonna make the tourney.
Listen, I'm just saying.
I get your point. Continue your point. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just saying like you can't allow Auburn to jump to that lead or like you might as well just call it a game because they're too talented to give up a 12 to 15 point lead that early in the game. Like to me, Alabama played a better second half. I thought Bama played a really good second half. I mean, Sears started getting hot. They started playing more scrappy, more fiery. Like that's one thing I will say is I think Auburn might be a more talented team, but Bama has got dog in them, and that's something that's going to serve them pretty well. I think even in the SEC tournament, is they don't have quit, and I think they showed that against that team. So I was disappointed in the loss, but considering how good Auburn was and considering how hard Bama fought to get back in that game, I was still impressed with Bama.
I've got a I'm very on the fence with how I feel about them right now. Being honest with you,
Well,
just
after the Missouri game, they
same thing. They got waxed. They got waxed
yeah,
from the
that's
jump.
that's
And
different. A lot more disappointed in that loss than the Auburn loss.
well, it's one of those where this is the first real time this year going into the Missouri game is how do you handle the adversity if you lose a big game like that? And now
Hmm.
you're going on to listen, we don't talk a ton about Missouri basketball, but Missouri basketball is
They're
pretty
solid
dang
this year,
good.
man. Yeah.
Ranked 15th in the country for a reason, and they proved it last night. And they play a very similar style to what we play.
Hmm.
They go fast up and down. They were faster than us last night in
Running
transit.
and gunning. Yep.
They were draining three. Like it was unbelievable.
Hmm.
Um, and they obviously wanted it more than we did. They went and hit us in the mouth right at the start. Went and
Yeah.
hit us in the mouth, and blink of an eye, it's 12-0, and Bama can never respond from that. They got to six,
Hmm.
but it it was start to finish. Missouri dominated that game, but it goes back to the point of you scored 98 points. Off scoring ain't the issue. It seems to be the turnovers again issue. It seems to be the defense right now is they've got to figure something out because the last two games, I get that it's top talent, I get that it's the SEC, I get that, but you cannot allow on some of these switches, man.
Yeah. Bama had 31 personal fouls and 14 turnovers to Missouri's 19 personal fouls and 8 turnovers.
So like
Um,
the difference to me with the two SEC championship teams with Bama that had is you talk about the offense, but they played really good defense.
right.
Really good
Hmm.
defense. This team, for whatever reason, just cannot play good defense to save their life. Or they play good defense for about 25 seconds in the shot clock and then they commit a foul.
Yeah.
And
I don't.
it's the turnovers, it's the defense, and it's the foul trouble that's a mix that's going to get you in trouble once March gets here, and March is not that far away.
Yeah. It's
But
getting interesting.
on the contrary to this, it's two losses, so it's not full panic mode. But you got to know that the schedule's not getting any easier, which is not. Kentucky
No, I
on
mean we got
Saturday,
Kentucky coming in on
better show
Saturday.
up
Yeah.
and be ready to play because it's going to be another first to 100 wins, maybe first to 110 wins because Kentucky is going to shoot the ball like crazy.
Well,
Um,
I'm not saying hit the panic button now, but if we lose to Kentucky, I don't even want to say panic. I'm just saying like let's something's got to get figured out.
well, long term, no, it's not even panic in general. It's because I mean, you think about it's still a very similar team to last year when you think about it. People remember the Final Four run.
I think this is even a better team than last year. I just think that their schedule and just who they're having to play week in and week out is a lot tougher.
Well, it, yes, I think it's a better team than last year, but I think the problem too now is you've got to figure out what the right lineups are. Like they started the lineup last night with
Yeah.
Sears, Youngblood, Phylon, Nelson, and Amori, and from the jump, it just didn't mesh the way. And granted, it's game by game, but Missouri guards were taller than us, and they could have it whatever they wanted, drive into the hoop, and
Hmm.
defensively, it was a problem. And when you can't, you're struggling defensively, and then you can't make a shot offensively. It's 12-0, 2.5 minutes in, and now you got to shuffle. You got to figure out what to do with Diabate and Holloway and now it's like there's a lot of good players on this team. It's just finding that right crew to get them to mix and match.
Hmm.
But no, it's very similar. I feel like now to where last year was, and I mean, again, people remember towards the end of last year they were struggling a little bit, losing to Tennessee, and they got beat
I remember that. Yeah.
twice pretty bad towards the end of the year.
Hmm. Lost first round of the SEC tournament.
Yeah, which honestly, I'm on
First
the
game, not first
of
round, but
it's really interesting for any SEC team. I'm not speaking for Alabama specifically, but how you approach the SEC tournament because you are either going to play a gauntlet to try and win it, or you could just lose the first game and prep for the actual tournament. Like it's really interesting to see how coaches approach that.
yeah, that's. You got any plans that week for the SEC tournament? You got anything going on that week?
Uh, I'm definitely not open. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it'll
I'm
be
not.
it'll be a long, busy week.
I'm pretty open. I don't have that much going on that week.
It's good. Now you better be there. competitive there.
You
But
did
no,
mention that that we're working the SEC tournament like three
it took
times a
so how long
podcast,
to
so
finally mention that
I
twice?
had to at least sneak that in once.
Yeah. But I feel kind of neutral about Alabama right now. It's just one of those where they're gonna have to figure something out, or you're just gonna have to come to the realization like this isn't gonna be the team that was hyped up on paper if they don't figure out defense. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Offense, like I said, offense, you can have all these turnovers in the world, and like I said, you had 98 points. You score 98 points majority of the time, you're gonna win the game in college basketball.
agreed. But in a conference where like the teams are so good at scoring, like yes, 98 points is a lot off of 14 turnovers, but still that's a lot of turnovers that could be generated into even more points. And when you have teams like Missouri putting up 110, granted, yes, that's partially due to our defense not being great, but if you know your defense isn't great, obviously you clean up on defense as much as you can. But if you know that's a weakness, then you need to try to limit your turnovers in terms getting a shootout with some teams. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you're
Yeah.
not doing yourselves any favor by turning the ball over upwards of 15 times a game.
I just don't know. I don't know what the defensive answer right now is because I'm like, with the fouling, man. I mean, they shot 25 more free throws than we did last night.
It's different for every team. I mean, like if you're playing a team like where you know the post isn't their strong point, maybe try like a 3-2 zone or something like that. I mean, it just
Nato thing
it's
never can
it
play zone.
I mean, if you're struggling this bad defensively though,
That's the one thing I was shocked. He had no choice the other night but to call that timeout 2.5 minutes in because it was just the brakes were getting blown off him. He doesn't call timeouts.
mm-hmm,
He's a very just keep the pace going and
let
we'll
him
get
go. Yeah,
shots.
let him
But at
play.
that point, you have no choice. And he plays man, and it always comes up to that top of the key when they pick and roll. And next thing you know, it's a guard's being covered by Grant Nelson or a big guy's being covered by Sears, and they always switch and they always take advantage of that middle screen. And eventually, you got to adjust to it.
Yeah,
At some point, you've got to adjust. But maybe I feel like they match up well with Kentucky. I feel like it could
agreed.
be a very interesting game. And again, they need it because after that, you got Mississippi State, who's no slouch. You got at Tennessee, which I already do not feel good about that game because they always match up horribly against Tennessee's defense.
Yeah.
That's just, you look at the last whatever times they've played each other, Tennessee has shut Nate Oates' offense down. Then you play Florida, and then you play Auburn, and then you're in Nashville for the tournament. So we've talked about it before how it's a gauntlet, but you really need to weather the storm. You've got to figure out a way to win at home against Kentucky on Saturday. You've already beat them at Rupp, so you've proven you can do it.
I mean, these next few weeks for some of these SEC teams like is March Madness because I think once they get to the actual tournament, I think some of those games are going to be easier for them for the first couple of
You
rounds,
got to
if I'm
think
being
too about
honest.
those teams on the bubble that are going to be fighting more for a spot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Those 11, like 12, 11, 10 seeds in the SEC tournament are going to be causing
Oklahoma,
some
Arkansas, Georgia,
chaos.
Texas, Vandy, they are not safe and they have to go prove something.
Yeah.
Likely they're going to be playing each other that first day.
Oh my gosh, dude. It's going to be awesome. That is going to be
It's
amazing.
going to be for like I said to win that tournament. It's I've heard announcers say it on TV, and it sounds stupid to say, but it's just tough as trying to go win a national championship.
No, I totally agree. I
Team,
I
man.
I really think it's harder to win. Like if you purely separate this SEC tournament and this NCAA tournament, I think it's harder to win this SEC tournament. And I'd stand by that just because to me, like a lot of the top teams in the country are in the SEC, and you have to play them in that tournament. Like you get to the NCAA tournament, you could get a team that's not great or doesn't come from a great conference, and you could get a few of those teams for a few rounds until you really have to play good competition. Where in the SEC, you're playing good competition regardless. Like if Bama makes it to Friday, whoever they play on Friday is going to have already won 2 games against other SEC teams, and they're going to be solid teams. Like you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get exactly. I will say though, this has to be the year. This with all the talk about even us talking about how great the SEC is, this has to be the year they finally get a national champion.
I think it will be. I don't
This
know who, but
has
I
to
think
be
I
because
think there's just too many good
Talk
teams.
is cheap. Talk is cheap, and they haven't won. An SEC team hasn't won a Natty in a hot minute. A hot.
Yeah,
And so it's one of those now where I think that they're the best conference, but they got to go out there and prove it.
agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
we'll see. There's so many just, especially at Missouri. I'm impressed by after watching last night. No one talks about them. Tennessee's always going to be there. Kentucky can get hot. Um, Florida, no one talks about Florida, and Florida might.
Florida's a great team, man.
Florida went to Auburn and smoked Auburn.
Hmm.
So I just don't know, man. It's going to be such a crapshoot once we get to March, but
Gonna be a dog fight, dude. It's gonna be a
yeah,
dog fight. I'm more excited for this March Madness season than I think I've been for any other March Madness season.
you and
I
me
am
both. I've already
stoked.
made sure, like, for me, it always those first 2 days are just insane.
Mhm.
Like my
I mean, I
favorite.
mean, I mean the tournament, but also like the SEC tournament in general, just all of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
totality of March. Like it's all gonna be amazing. I
Yeah, but I
think this.
made sure for work, like those first 2 days of the NCAA tournament, like
Oh, you're off.
I mean, be off because it's like it's 12 hours or you're just watching ball. And then after that, it's not as chaotic, but the chaos that comes with March Madness, there's
Yeah.
nothing like it. It's one of my favorite sports holidays of the year. I consider it a holiday. It's one of my favorite sports days of the year.
To me, it is my favorite. Like I just can't think of anything more exciting than sitting down and watching NCAA basketball for the tournament. Like I love college football, but like the bowl season and even playoff season for that doesn't compare, in my opinion. There's just something about March Madness that's so exciting. The like, and I think it's the aspect of anybody can win. Whereas in football, I think it's more of a you have a set idea of who is going to win. Whereas
Right.
when you get to those top 68 teams in March Madness, you just don't know what's going to happen. And that makes it extremely exciting because any team, like once you're at those top 68, anybody can get hot from three or anything. Like you just have no idea what's going to
Literally anything can happen, and
happen. Yep.
that's the beauty of it.
Yep. And that's why we love sports.
Yep, we are getting closer. We are almost a week away from March, and then we
Oh
can
my gosh,
experience it.
dude. Count down the need to get my hair cut. I need to start freshening up, man.
Yeah, get cleaned up. You gotta get cleaned up for Nashville.
A lot of cameras on me that week.
Yeah, we'll be locked in. We got a new camera crew this year. They'll be taking pictures.
Oh heck yeah, dude. Uh, all right.
Yeah,
Well, anything else we need to discuss? We got a good bit done, I feel like.
yeah. Just like I've said from day one, hockey's the dumbest sport.
Yeah. We
Never
definitely we
understood
have
it.
been saying that from day one for sure.
Never understood it. Nah, I mean, still was a good event, but it just sucks to lose to Canada.
Yeah. Next podcast, I think I'm gonna bring some kind of topic in, like maybe that will take up a good bit of our time. I've got an idea that I want to pitch to you.
Yeah.
What about like ranking like next NFL season going 16 all the way to 1 for the AFC and the NFC and thinking like how we think the standings are going to finish.
I'm game for it. I would say we should probably wait till after free agency and the draft,
That's fair.
just because there's so much that could happen, especially with the amount of teams that need quarterbacks. So we
What
can
about a top
definitely.
10 mock draft? We go 1 through 10 in the draft.
Oh yeah, I'm totally down for that.
I'm down for yeah, that'll be a little bit easier to do. All
I
right, let's
love
do that.
draft season. NFL draft's another one of my favorite days of the year. Like there's something about which is funny because it has nothing to do with the actual games itself. But
No, it's
NFL
fun.
draft and March Madness are probably two of my top three favorite days of the year. Being a sports fan.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, that's episode 2. Thank y'all for listening, watching.
Appreciate y'all.
We'll see y'all next week, probably around the same time. So,
So thank y'all. Appreciate you.
see y'all.